Okay, so you're thinking about buying shares in a company, right? And you're probably faced with a pile of documents.
Uh-huh. It can seem pretty daunting at first.
Totally. But let's try and cut through some of that noise today and focus on one document that's just, well, absolutely essential. The Articles of Association.
Yeah, you could almost think of it as the company's internal constitution. Its DNA, like you said.
Exactly. So today, we want to unpack this rule book. We're drawing heavily on Magnus Kjøller's book, Deal Structuring, which does a great job laying this out.
It really does. The aim is to give you, the potential investor, a much clearer picture of what this document is and why it matters so much.
Right. Imagine you're, I don't know, joining a new sports team or a club.
Okay.
You want to know the rules, wouldn't you? How things are decided, who's in charge of what.
Absolutely. You need to know how the game is played. The articles provide that same kind of clarity for a company, how it operates, how it's managed.
And for an investor, getting a handle on this early on is, well, it's not really optional, is it?
Not at all. It's fundamental.
So let's start there. What exactly are the Articles of Association? Why should they be top of the reading pile?
Well, simply put, they are the written rules governing the company's internal affairs.
Like the operational handbook.
Sort of, yeah. They lay out the structure for management, the procedures for making key decisions, all the essential mechanics of how the company runs day to day.
Which matters to an investor because...
Because how a company is run, how it makes decisions, that directly affects its performance.
And therefore, your investment, your potential return.
Precisely. The articles define the playing field for your investment.
Okay, so what kind of information should an investor be looking for in the articles? What's typically in there?
Well, it's not just dry legal text. There are real clues inside. For instance, you'll often find the company's stated purpose and maybe even its vision.
Which tells you about their long-term goals.
Exactly. Are they aiming for rapid growth, stable dividends, something else? It gives you a sense of the strategic direction.
What else is key?
Oh, definitely the share capital structure. This is huge for investors.
Right. Explain that a bit more.
It details things like whether there are different classes of shares. Do some shares have more voting rights than others? Do they get different dividend payments?
Ah, so it affects both your potential return and your level of control or influence.
Absolutely. Understanding this structure, different share classes, the rights attached is critical for assessing, the real value and power behind your shares.
Makes sense. And building on that, what about shareholder rights more generally?
Yep. The article should clearly outline those too, especially voting rights on major corporate decisions.
Like mergers or big strategy shifts.
Potentially, yes.
Right.
What requires a shareholder vote? What percentage is needed to pass something? It's all defined there. You need to know what say you actually have.
This brings up something important. How fixed are these rules? Can they be changed easily?
That's another key piece. The amendment procedures. The articles themselves state how they can be altered.
Why is that so important for an investor coming in?
Because the rules you invest under might not be the rules forever. You need to understand how easily the governance structure can evolve, potentially changing your rights or how things operate.
Okay. And is there anything else typically covered?
Well, there's usually a section on the company's winding up process.
You mean if the company dissolves?
Exactly. Hopefully it never happens, but the articles clarify the procedures if it does. It's just good housekeeping to understand that potential endgame scenario.
Okay, that gives us a good feel for what's in the articles. Now, people often hear about another document, the shareholder agreement, or SHA. How does that fit in? Is it the same thing?
Good question. No, they're not the same, though both are really important for governance. They have distinct roles.
Okay, let's break that down. The Articles of Association. What's their defining characteristic?
Well, crucially, the articles are usually a public document. Anyone can typically look them up.
Right, public. And they set out the fundamental framework.
Yes, the core operational rules. Share capital, director powers, basic shareholder rights, things that apply to the company and all its shareholders. It's legally binding on the company, the directors, and every shareholder. It's the baseline.
Okay, baseline. And the shareholder agreement.
The SHA is different. It's a private contract.
Private, meaning?
Meaning it's only binding on the specific shareholders who sign it. It's not usually public.
And what does it cover?
It usually goes into more specific details about the relationship between those shareholders. Things like special voting agreements they might have amongst themselves, maybe specific dividend policies for that group, or how they'll resolve disputes between each other.
So it's more tailored. A layer on top of the articles, but just for some shareholders.
That's a good way to put it. It provides a more detailed framework for how those specific shareholders interact.
Okay, this is a key distinction. So what happens if there's a disagreement? Which document wins? Articles or SHA?
Generally speaking, the Articles of Association take precedence for the overall corporate governance and operations. They set the legal foundation for everyone.
But there's always a but, isn't there?
Well, yes. The SHA can sometimes take priority, but only on very specific matters relating to the agreement between the shareholders who signed it.
And crucially.
Crucially, it can't contradict the articles or company law. So think of it like this. Articles set the main legal boundaries. The SHA adds specific rules for certain players within those boundaries.
Got it. Okay, so let's leap back to the investor perspective. Why is spending time on the articles so critical for them?
It really boils down to understanding the bedrock of your investment, the rules that directly shape your rights, your potential returns, your influence.
You give a concrete example?
Sure. Look at that share capital structure again. By reading the articles, you know exactly what kind of share you're getting. Class A, Class B, preferred, common, what voting rights come with it, what dividend rights. This directly tells you about your potential profit and your say in the company.
Okay, that's clear. What's another one?
The amendment procedures we talked about. Knowing how the articles can be changed tells you about the stability of the rules.
Yeah.
Is it easy for majority shareholders to change things that might negatively impact minority investors like you? That's a risk assessment right there.
And the voting rights piece, too.
Absolutely. Knowing what decisions require your vote and what threshold is needed tells you if you'll actually have any influence on the company's big moves. Or are you just along for the ride?
It's all about being informed, isn't it? Knowing what you're buying into and how your position might change.
Exactly. And these articles, they don't exist in a vacuum. They connect to other deal documents.
Like the term sheet.
Precisely. The term sheet is often the first step, outlining the basic deal terms. Often, the articles will then need to be updated or amended to reflect what was agreed in the term sheet, maybe creating a new share class for the investor, for example.
And it connects to the shareholder agreement, too, obviously.
Right. As we said, the articles provide the broad framework, and the SHA might then fill in more specific details about how investors and founders say will interact or make decisions together, building on what the articles allow.
So they all work together. You need to understand how they relate.
You do. The articles are foundational, but you need to see how they interact with the SHA and how they might be changed based on the term sheet.
Okay, so wrapping this part up, the main message here is don't underestimate the Articles of Association.
Absolutely. They're far more than just legal boilerplate. They are the fundamental rulebook shaping your investment. Understanding them is non-negotiable.
Agreed. And look, if you want to explore this further and really get into the nuts and bolts of deal documents like this, we have to mention Magnus Kjøller's book, Deal Structuring, again.
Yeah, it's genuinely excellent. It breaks down these complex topics, articles, SHAs, term sheets, the lot, in a really clear, practical way. It's getting fantastic reviews on Amazon, and you can see why it's incredibly useful.
Definitely picking up steam. So yeah, check out Deal Structuring by Magnus Kjøller on Amazon.
And for more tools, templates, resources related to all this stuff, Magnus also has the website dealstructuring.com, worth a visit.
For sure. So the final thought we want to leave you with today is this. Before you commit to any investment, always take the time to properly read and understand these core documents, especially the Articles of Association.
They really do lay the groundwork for everything that follows. Your rights, your returns, your influence, it all starts there. Understanding them is key to protecting your stake in the company.